When most Westerners, especially the secular ones, think of religion, they think of something they have seen in their own cultures and societies, i.e., Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, and Buddhism. And quite naturally, since most of them lack the insight and knowledge to understand Islam properly, they tend to lump it in with the other religions. That is a big mistake. Islam can be properly described as a totalitarian way of life and a highly effective system of conquest disguised as a religion. Islam is totalitarian, not just in the sense of theocratic and dictatorial regimes, but also in the sense that there is virtually no part of a believer's life that is not touched or influenced in some manner by it. Virtually everything a Muslim does is influenced or guided by his faith, by Sharia law, or both. In this sense, free will as Westerners and other non-Muslims understand it is anathema to those inhabiting Dar al-Islam, the House of Islam. Likewise, there is no real analogue to the Western notion of liberty or freedom. The Arabic word most closely corresponding to freedom is typically said to be hari. But this is false, for the term does not correspond to liberty or freedom in the sense that an American, for example, would understand it. It instead means freedom to do as Allah wills for that individual. Many traditional religious faiths and systems have laws or codes attached to them. What makes Sharia, Islamic, law unique, however, is that, in theory, it applies not only to Muslims but also to non-Muslims. At least, that is what the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sirah command. Non-Muslims or kafirs, also known as infidels, are denied the most basic of human rights under Islamic suzerainty. They are most often akin to slaves, serfs, or supplicants, and even those non-Muslim dhimmis who serve a valuable purpose to the sultan or caliph and survive on that basis are still treated with inhuman brutality and can be beaten or slain at the whim of any Muslim male. Most Westerners are familiar with the history of slavery, but how many know that Muslims have been the greatest slavers in history? Which is to say, the most prolific takers, buyers, and sellers of slaves in history. Even today, in many parts of the Islamic world, the Arabic word for slave, abd, is synonymous with the slang or informal word for a black man. Although the Muslims took many millions of black Africans as slaves, they likewise took many millions of Europeans and other peoples as slaves from temperate climates further north, venturing as far north as Ireland and Iceland on slave-taking raids. As some of you may know, the very first war fought by the United States as an independent nation was the Barbary War of 1801–1805, with a brief flare-up in 1815, fought against Islamic raiders and pirates of the coast of North Africa. These nautical jihadists had been seizing American shipping and holding the passengers and cargo for ransom. President Thomas Jefferson grew tired of their demands and sent the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps to Tripoli to teach them a lesson. Various Islamic potentates, rulers, and warlords have infamously slain infidels by the multitudes down through the centuries. According to the work of historians and political scientists who have studied such phenomena, the greatest or largest single genocide in human history was committed by the Islamic Mughal Empire in what is now the Indian subcontinent over years in the 15th century. During that time, an estimated 270 million Hindus and other non-Muslims were put to the sword. So many were slain that the streets ran with blood and giant pyramids of human skulls were erected by the soldiers of Allah. Of course, many other empires and nations have committed acts of genocide, but such wanton bloodletting is impressive even by the standards of the worst tyrants of the 20th century who had modern industrial warfare and weapons at their disposal, but did not manage to even approach the totals of the Mughal Empire.